Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there you are, just like that on a cold start to your Thursday morning. Welcome into Talking Ball. 97.7 ESPN, the Zone. Safe travels into work or into school, wherever you may be headed this morning. 25 degrees as you make your way into wherever you're going. Give yourself time to warm up that vehicle just a little bit. All right, 256-576-4977. That's how you can be a part of the show this morning. And I got a lot of stuff to get to, some happy stuff, some sad stuff. A lot of college football talk. Going to throw in some college basketball talk in there. Auburn was in an exhibition game last night. The UAH women had an exhibition game last night, so we'll kind of run down some of those scores. State volleyball continuing to go on down in Birmingham. We'll throw out some scores there as well. A lot to get through this morning. The Alabama Crimson Tide will take on LSU right here on 97.7 ESPN, the Zone, on Saturday. Yesterday, Nick Saban once again, as he does each and every Wednesday. And you can head to our YouTube page, WZZN TV, to watch the entire press conference. But Coach Saban yesterday spending time and was asked this question, and here was his response in regards to the LSU game on Saturday.
Yeah, you've talked about the 60-minute game and maintaining intensity for 60 minutes. Players have talked about it too. What do you think it's going to take for that to finally happen for this team to get that in a full 60-minute game?
Well, they have to make a choice and a decision to do it. All right, they got to understand the level of intensity that has to be sustained, the sense of urgency that has to be sustained, and how smart you have to be, which goes back to the preparation that you had so that you're not making mental errors because you're playing smart and you're playing with good intelligence. All right, so you got immediacy, intensity, and intelligence. You know, those three things, sustained for 60 minutes to a high standard, that's the challenge. And you have to make a choice and decision to do that. And it doesn't just happen in the game. It's got to be a habit. If you practice at a high level all the time, you'll be able to play in the game at a high level all the time. If you don't do it in practice and you think you're going to be able to do it in a game, probably not going to happen. And, you know, we keep harping, we keep teaching. Every time we get the opportunity to point out to a player, this is an opportunity for you to learn how to sustain better in the game. We want to try to do it.
There you go. We brought it up yesterday, the full 60-minute game.
Yeah, that's what they have to do. They have to play 4 quarters, and they haven't played 4 full quarters yet this year, at least not to their standard. The closest they came was probably Mississippi State, but even when you go back and look at that first half of that game, they were 1-for-1 passing. They didn't do anything throwing the football till the second half, and when they put the game away, and so it was still a ball game at halftime. So, and you don't count Middle Tennessee because they suck. So, you know, that's just not something that even counts. We're talking about against high-level competition, not a team headed to oblivion, and who's not even going to probably be a bowl team this year. So, it's against high-level opponents, and Mississippi State's not a high-level opponent. They're a bottom feeder this year in the SEC
right.
West and in the conference period. They're just having a transition year, and we'll see if Zach Arnett's the long-term answer for Mississippi State. So Alabama has not done it against a high-quality opponent this year. Certainly they're going to have to Saturday. LSU's a flawed team, but I think everybody in college football is. And so for Alabama to win this game and go to 6-0 in the SEC West and really put a stranglehold almost on the division, they've got to win this game Saturday. And if they do, they'll have the tiebreaker over the two contenders. LSU won't be a contender anymore because they will be finished.
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
But Ole Miss is still sitting there, but they've got a trip to Athens, Georgia, and an ass whipping coming very likely.
All right, 256-576-4977. Let's go out to the phone lines. Mark from Spring Hill with us this morning. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Mark.
Hey, morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. The only thing I would disagree with there is I think the Alabama-Ole Miss game was probably the closest. I remember seeing pictures of the Ole Miss quarterback after the game. He absolutely got his tail kicked.
Well, it was a 7-6 game at halftime, and Alabama did not play very well in the first half, threw an interception in the end zone, and they did play a good second half, which has been kind of their MO all year. Because the only time it was kind of reversed was Arkansas. They played good in the first half and then played poorly in the second. But they did not play well in the first half against Ole Miss, because if Ole Miss didn't miss a field goal, it would have been like a 10-6 deficit. So Alabama just didn't play well in the first half, but they did play very, very well offensively in the second half, and that was a big reason that they came back and took control of the game and then won it impressively by a couple of scores.
Yeah, I think where I guess I'm coming from is this is probably the defensive game that, to me, turned the season. It will be the game that defines the team. I remember that quarterback. He's not. I mean, probably the best quarterback that they've seen. Maybe even better than Texas quarterback. And they put a robber on him in the second half, changed a few things up. I know they hit him a lot. And I just wonder, if that's the kind of defensive idea. I guess my question is this: can Alabama afford to play man and bring the house against this LSU quarterback? Can they afford to do that?
No, they will. It will be a death if they do that. They won't. If you blitz the whole game and you play man with the way this guy's throwing the football. You ain't gonna get the results you want. You're gonna have to change things up, give him different looks, try to confuse him. You're gonna have to get some organic pressure. You're gonna have to flush him, but it needs to be a 5-yard gain. It doesn't need to be a 30-yard gain. Open field tackling is going to be very, very important. You can't give him the same looks over and over again. If you're just sitting there blitzing and giving him man coverage, then just get on the bus and go back to the hotel because your ass is whipped. I'm just being honest.
Real quick. With the new rule in college football, where the clock continues to run, is Alabama's best best defense is their offense?
Yes.
Meaning, Alabama purposefully runs little dump passes and eats clock and has long sustained drives, because LSU's not going to stop. Alabama's going to score too on LSU. They're no juggernaut. So what do you think about that? Alabama winning the game 28-14 in a game where Alabama purposefully, for the first time in a long time, milks the clock.
Well, if you hold LSU to 14
Yeah.
points, that would be very, very impressive. But you are on to something. The less Jaden Daniels is on the field, the better.
Which is what we've been saying all week,
Yes.
they need
the
to
less he's
control
on the
clock.
field, the better.
But while I would just be ecstatic, and anybody in this state that roots for the University of Alabama and we're an Alabama affiliate, and yes, I'm an Alabama fan. I don't give a crap who knows or not. If you don't know, you're comatose. But I just think that I would be ecstatic with that result if Alabama held them to 14. But I'm also a realist, and I just don't see that happening in this era of football. You don't see offenses like that getting shut down. Now, I know Lane Kiffin's did to 10 points, but I'll just be blunt. LSU's is better than Ole Miss's, in my opinion. I know Ole Miss beat them, but that was mostly because of the issues with the LSU defense. And the LSU defense couldn't stop running water in that game. So
Florida State held LSU to 24 points.
Right. But they didn't have Logan Diggs and John Emery, and Jackson, the freshman tailback, wasn't playing much. So I think their running game is a lot different than it was then. But even then, that's 24. So,
right.
I think Alabama's got an outstanding defense, but holding somebody to 14, Look, I mean, the 2011 game of the century was a 9-6 overtime game. Do I expect anything like that with like no offensive touchdowns? No, I do not. That's just not the way the game is played right now. Hell, Les Miles ran the option in that game. Okay, I don't expect Brian Kelly to come out and run the option. They're going to throw the ball because they have outstanding receivers and an outstanding quarterback. And again, like if you're going zero coverage and blitzing and playing man, you're dead. You can't do that because they're eventually going to win one-on-one matchups because first of all, the quarterback could get loose in man coverage because if everybody's dropping and covering everybody, here goes Jaden Daniels for finding a lot of space, and then you got all those receivers. So to me, you've got to be disciplined. It's kind of like what Coach Saban just said. You've got to tackle, and you've got to, and you're going to give up some plays. You got to have a short memory, and you got to keep playing. And it's what I said yesterday. Red zone defense is going to be extremely important.
Who has the most pressure in the secondary for Alabama?
I think both Kool-Aid and Terrion, because I'll just say this. They've got two guys. They don't have just one. They've got Malik Neighbors, and they've got, Brian Thomas Jr., that both have 11 and 9 touchdowns. One has nearly 1,000 yards. One's got nearly 800. So there's not really a break. Both of them are going to have to hold up. Both of them are going to have to tackle. And then, like we said, I mean, you're going to have to get some pressure, okay? You're going to have to flush him. You're going to have to make him get rid of the ball quicker than he wants to. So, I mean, and even last year when I think he was still adjusting to LSU, Alabama held them in regulation, I believe, to 24 points in Baton Rouge, but it ended up being a 32-31 type game. But again, I just don't. And that Alabama defense was coordinated by Wild Turkey. And so I just think, of course, some will say, well, Steele can do even better. Maybe so, but this LSU offense is better than the one a year ago because Jaden Daniels is a year better, just like Joe Burrow was. So, again, I just think if you can hold them in the 20s, and I think that gives Alabama a good shot because I do think this LSU defense has issues, no doubt. But I will say, I go back to something Mike Detillier said yesterday. Well, a couple things. One, they brought in Pete Jenkins, so I think it's helped their defense. And two, Brian Kelly's not the same coach he was at Notre Dame. He's going into this thing knowing he's got to be aggressive. Okay. Now I don't mean going for it on every fourth down or whatever. I just mean
he's gonna have to take shots down.
You're gonna have to take shots, and you're gonna have to be balanced, and you're gonna have to really. He knows they got to score points, man, because your defense, even with Pete Jenkins coming in and even playing better against Auburn and Army. But neither of those teams is great. You're playing Alabama.
That's what we've said all week. He knows LSU's got to score points, but he's also sitting there thinking if we score 40 points, I don't think Alabama can score 40 with us. So if we hit that 40 mark, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit. Alabama, LSU, heard from Nick Saban, 7:13. Let's get our first break in. I said we had some sad news today. We will delve into the world of college basketball. College basketball lost an iconic coach.
It's polarizing, though.
Polarizing, iconic. Hall of Fame.
Because I'm going to ask
you
some questions about that.
Yeah.
Because you grew up in that part of the country.
And I actually, as an intern.
Exactly.
As an intern, got to shoot some Bobby Knight press conferences. But anyway, we will come back. When we come back, we'll talk Bobby Knight, the loss of Bobby Knight, when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Injuries at work happen all the time in Alabama. So do motor vehicle and slip and fall accidents. If you're hurt at work or injured in an accident, I want you to call my good friends at Pond Lehocky Giordano. That's Pond Lehocky, Alabama's injury law firm. They got your back just like they've got mine. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers. years. The Huntsville Sports Commission is driven by you, driven by those with grit, determination, and a goal to succeed. This is why we do what we do. The Huntsville Sports Commission promotes an enhanced quality of life in the Huntsville area through sports. We work hard to make sure those who come to Huntsville to compete have all they need to be the best they can be. The Huntsville Sports Commission. We do sports. Find out more at huntsvillesports.org.
As the calendar turns to November, we thank Thanksgiving, and for that we have plenty to be thankful for. As we gather with family and friends, it's a good time to make sure your heating and cooling units are up to speed. Thomas from Talkin Heating and Air with us. Thomas, if you're tired of all of that from all the other companies, give Talkin Heating and Air a call.
That's right. If you're tired of hearing a bunch of, give us a call at 256-503-4490. We're still out running our special. We can come out, check out your system, make sure it's ready for heating season, and we can do that free gas inspection with that tune-up.
You can also find Talkin Heating and Air online at
TalentHVAC.com.
Don't let any of those other companies jive turkey talk you into expenses you don't need. Give Talkin Heating and Air a call today.
I'm pretty sure that you called me a jive turkey.
No, now, Lou. Nobody called anyone a JT.
Jive turkey is a little over the line, my man.
AL cert number 21014.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at North Alabama Mortgage. Are you thinking about home improvements? Well, use your equity now and refi later. Or use your equity to eliminate consumer debt forever, then refi to a lower rate and shorter term when rates drop. North Alabama Mortgage can also help you if you're thinking about buying an investment property or a second home at the lake or the beach or in the mountains. We have great programs to make that happen. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
Good morning. 53 and Jeff should be clear now. 53 and Kelly Spring may still be trying to clear. Had a single vehicle on Thatch Road near Sand Spring Road. That's in Limestone County. Nobody hurt, but there's road blockage. And sounds like we got a stall northbound on the Parkway Access Road or right around the Airport Road. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Eck in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated. Licensed in the respective state or county.
Oh, welcome back, Talking Ball. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And the college basketball world lost an iconic, a polarizing figure yesterday. And for many of us that remember him and Bobby Knight, I should say, this is what we remember the most. Okay, why is that not playing? I love it when things don't go the way they're supposed to go. There we go. For some reason, the mute button was on. All right. Once the ad quits playing, here we go.
Fred Jaspers now chasing Bobby Knight back to his chair.
And
he's got him right there. There's the tee.
Technical against the bench and against Bob Knight. Steve Reed, an excellent free throw shooter, will have the honors shooting the technicals.
Looky here, looky here. Bobby Knight just threw his chair clear across the free throw lane.
And I think Fred Jaspers.
Unbelievable. He picked up another tee. And now Fred Jaspers is called for athletic director Ralph Floyd.
Bobby Knight, one of the most polarizing college basketball coaches, passes away at the age of 83. 42-year career coaching, 902 games, 5th most in Division I history, 3 NCAA titles, coached a U.S. team to an Olympic gold medal, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 91. Passes away at the age of 83. He won 902 games.
He did. He should have been the winningest coach in history, but it's ironic that you play that clip of him throwing the chair across Assembly Hall to be ejected as he should have been. His temper and his anger and just his volatility, cost him a chance to be the greatest coach of all time. Because if you think about Coach Knight, he was a wonderkind. He played on one of the greatest college teams of all time with Jerry Lucas and John Havlicek that won a national championship at Ohio State. Very soon after, in his 20s, early to mid-20s, he was the head coach at West Point for 6 years. Coached a point guard named Mike Krzyzewski, who had a great career in his own right. And by the time he was in his mid-40s, Scott, this was a guy that, and really his late 40s, but before he was even turned 50 years old, he had 3 national championships in 76, which is the only undefeated team, the last undefeated team in NCAA history. Some people still think the greatest team of all time. And that was a team that was very fortunate to beat the University of Alabama and Leon Douglas in the NCAA tournament. Would have had a guy named Larry Bird on that team if Bob Knight wasn't such a boorish jackass and ran him off.
Yeah.
Look, man, it's the good with the bad. He was a brilliant basketball coach. He taught the game the right way. He was a great teacher and coach of the game. He taught motion offense, movement, man defense. He did it the right way. He didn't cheat. He was a very good developer of players.
He coached a lot of future pros, but he only had one NBA All-Star during his time, and that was Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, Isaiah became a Hall of Fame player, but the thing is, I think Coach Knight would have won more championships and would have won, more games than anyone in history if he had not flamed out the way he did at Indiana and ended up at Texas Tech, where it was extremely hard to win. Because Coach Knight was a brilliant basketball coach, but you have to look at the other side, and he was just extremely hard to play for.
Volatile insecurity.
Well, or some,
what the label.
Anger management is what I call it. The coach I compared him to that flamed out, it was Woody Hayes at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Who ended up slugging a player and was lucky he didn't get his teeth knocked out, when he punched said player first. But again, coach, we all know the Neil Reed situation where he was caught on camera, grabbing him around the throat. To be honest, he probably should have been dismissed at Indiana much sooner than he was. But again, if he could have just channeled it and harnessed it, he would have been the best coach ever. But I just think he just never could adapt. He could never change his coaching style, and he got to the point where they couldn't recruit great players and he couldn't relate to kids because nobody wanted to play for someone like that, even as brilliant as he was. And I do think behind the scenes, in some cases, he was a different person. But again, the public persona, was very polarizing. He was still very difficult to deal with behind the scenes, and
difficult to deal with in the media. Difficult to deal with at press conferences.
Pretty much, unless you were Pat Knight or certain people in his very small inner circle, it was very difficult to deal with him. And so again, great coach, no questioning he's one of the great minds of all time. And again, when you think about what he accomplished before the age of 50, 3 national championships and a gold medal. Okay, he was the '84 Olympic coach, and he was perfect for that job as well. There's nobody that coached the game better than Bob Knight ever in history, but his off the court persona and his temper and everything really cost him. I'll be honest, because he's respected by everyone, but he's not liked, and that's why. And of course, he also had some dementia issues later in life.
Right.
But that's why Bob Knight was not a guy that he should have still been coaching even into his 70s. He was sharp enough to do it. and a good enough basketball mind. If you heard Bob Knight on television when he did games for ESPN, he was good at it. He could see things. He was very good X's and O guy. He was still very sharp. But again, it's one of those things. He basically had to retire at Texas Tech because they weren't getting players, and he wanted to win at a certain level. He couldn't do it. But he's one of the great coaches of all time. I mean, and to think that, he coached Mike Krzyzewski and reared him, I almost look at it this way. Mike Krzyzewski accomplished what Bob Knight should have. Coach K won 5 titles. He won over 1,000 games, and he became the Olympic coach for over a decade. And won multiple gold medals. He's a guy that's liked and respected by everybody in basketball. Now, there are North Carolina fans and some fans that don't like him because you ain't going to please everybody. But I would say the majority of basketball reveres Coach K. They don't revere Bob Knight. They respect him. There's a difference there.
No, there's a huge difference.
I was going to ask you, you covered the guy as a very young person in the business.
I did.
I mean, there was not a more intimidating person than Bob Knight.
1998, I was an intern. Sports intern. I just started shooting sports there. At the CBS station back home. It was the season finale. I remember it. It's season finale against Indiana. Indiana had come to Iowa, and the fire alarm had gone off in the middle of the night, and the Indiana basketball team, they had to evacuate, and it was just kind of an up and down, topsy-turvy night. And someone asked him if that related to the bad play because Iowa had won the game.
Yeah.
And it was the last question, and of course, it just set him off, and he just storms out. And I feel privileged that I got to see him storm out of a press conference. But no, it was cool to see him because growing up in the Big Ten country and seeing it, Iowa never played well in Bloomington, never played well, and Bobby Knight was a big part of that. But to see him, because I got to see him and Gene Cady up close and personal for a couple years.
Right.
And that was really cool to see both of them coach in the Big Ten. That was really cool. Yeah. I'll remember that forever. So.
Yeah, and don't forget, Iowa had a couple of Hall of Fame coaches. When you talk about Lute Olson, who left to go to Arizona, people kind of forget he was at Iowa before that, and then Dr. Tom Davis. So they had some really good coaches as well. But like I said, and people forget, Indiana had a history before Bob Knight, but they didn't become a power and a blue blood until Bob Knight.
No, you're right. And he came from Army. He came from Army, then Indiana. He took Army to 4 NITs before he got to Indiana. And at that time, the NIT was still a powerful postseason tournament. All right, let's go to Jeff from the Borough real fast. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning, Jeff.
What's going on, guys? Well, Bobby, I can tell you, Joe Hall's got something for him. He gets the pearly gates. Because in '75 they played, and Indiana was awesome, the greatness, the Kent Bensons, the Quinn Buckners. They were supposed to beat Kentucky's butt. And at night couldn't believe it. And Kentucky was beating him. He was so mad that Joe Hall was beating him. He was angry. He was madder than hornet. He couldn't believe it. Like, what is this team doing? Kevin Greavy and the Guyets and all those freshmen, Gibbonsley and all them. So it was the middle of the ball game. I don't know when it was. But Hall was walking down the bench. He was going back to the score. He walked past the score, so going back to the bench, and Knight took his open hand and slapped him on the back of the neck. He was so mad. He got beat that day. They went on to the Final Four. Of course, they lost to UCLA in the finals. He was so mad. Of course, that next year they went undefeated because Indiana fans, they think the '75 team was better than the '76 team that went undefeated. If you ask Indiana fans, if you ask him about those two teams, if you really ask us about hardcore the whole time Indiana fan, but Bobby Knight, no, I don't have respect for him. He hated the media. He always at one time he was there talking about somebody talking about game face and doing all these faces, always junk and everything else. But respect him, He hated Kentucky. He hated Calipari. He slammed him to death, and all this other mess. And now Calipari, of course, he came out and said something about it, but that's fine. It's no big deal. But, if I was Indiana, I wouldn't have had him back on campus. He just stayed back where he was. He would have come back in 2020. I will see you, man. What's he done? I mean, Bradford, they won before Knight got there. They won 2 titles, so they've got 5. It's great coach, Drew, but not in my eyes. Yeah, he's pretty good. Not in my eyes, he's not, though. Joe B. Hall's better. See ya.
Get a lobotomy, Jeff. If you think Joe B. Hall is the late Joe B. Hall, who was a great coach in his own right, is better than Bob Knight, give yourself a lobotomy. The only reason you think that is because you're a Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
So get your head out of your ass. What you just said is stupid, and anybody that has a basketball IQ above 5 understands what I'm talking about. But, of course, you're going to call in with some asinine call like that. And I hope you're hearing every word of this. You sanctimonious prick.
Oh. And Bobby Knight has ties to here, to Huntsville.
He does. My old basketball coach, Rich Valavicius, played on that 1976 team.
Yeah.
He played for 2 years under Coach Knight. It was very, very difficult. He was very, very hard to play for. As brilliant as he was, that's why he's so polarizing. I would not want my son playing for him. It would have been very difficult. He
was old school to the nth degree.
But he was brilliant. I mean, you can't say he wasn't.
Right.
He taught the game the right way. But, I mean, for so many guys, and there's a lot of guys, the Mike Woodsons, who's the coach there now, Isaiah Thomas, Steve Alford, all these guys. But he even had a very up and down relationship with Alford. And I don't think he and Coach K were close the last several years. But the thing is that so a lot of players didn't like him. But you have to respect the results. Jeff saying you can't respect him as a great coach just because he's a Kentucky fan. Look, I don't like Kentucky basketball. Okay, I'm an Alabama guy, and I like the Blue Devils, but I respect Kentucky basketball. I didn't like Bob Knight. I thought he was a great basketball coach, though, and I had really enjoyed. One of the last things he did that was I thought interesting during his time at Texas Tech is he allowed ESPN to do a series called Night School, which I thought was very, very good. It still allowed you to see behind the curtain. So I just think Coach Knight was a great coach, but he was just somebody that was polarizing. And, again, I give him all the respect in the world for the way he taught the game and the way that his teams played. But, again, as a person, not a fan of Bob Knight. I just wished he had handled himself better. And if he had, he would have had an even longer career. But he did it his way, and he certainly is still very well respected. But, there's a difference between respected and revered. But you have to respect the man.
You do.
Saying that he's not a great coach is stupidity.
No, and he started coaching in an era, and look, I mean, Adolph Rupp was the same way. It was a harsh, it was in-your-face, physical type of coaching. That was coaching back then. A lot had changed, and Bobby didn't adapt to a lot of that as time went along.
But, all I tell you is how good a coach Bobby Knight was and how far ahead of his time. He really kind of revolutionized the game because, again, when you think about –
he called it a motion offense. He brought
he's
in
the
a
one
lot
that
of that
basically
to the
did
game.
that. But
yes.
look, when you win 3 national titles and a gold medal before you're 50, I mean that's and he made and at one time Indiana was the best program in the country. Okay, there's no question. There was about a 15-year period where they were the best team in the best program in the country until the early 90s, and then things started going south.
Right.
Because he didn't change, and you just couldn't continue doing what he was doing. The last gasp was Calbert Chaney and that group that went to the Final Four, and Duke beat them.
Was
okay?
that 93?
I want to say it was 93 or 94.
I think it was
94 actually, and I think Duke ended up losing to Arkansas in the finals. But again, when you look at it, Coach
93.
It was 93.
Elite 8 in 93 and the Sweet 16 the following year, but he never.
Was it 92? Was that Final Four then? It may have been 92.
Yeah.
My bad. The year Duke repeated.
But after that, though,
it was
he
92
never
then.
got the Hoosiers past the first weekend
never.
of the NCAA tournament.
That's what I'm saying. And I'll be honest. If he had continued to be able to somehow get the talent that he needed and win, because there was a lot of kids transferring, during this time period because of the way the game was changing, then he would have. Then even with his behavior, he would have kept his job.
Right.
But the results weren't matching what he had been doing, and so there wasn't people, running interference for him. That's another thing I didn't like. If you left the program, he would disown you, like if you transferred. It would act like you never existed. And so and there was a lot. I didn't respect that part of it. I didn't like that part of it because, again, kids wanted to go play. They wanted to have a good experience. It was very difficult to play. That's why we keep saying polarizing. It was very, very difficult to play for Bob Knight. I mean, it just really was. I know Quinn Buckner did, Ken Benson, all these guys, but I'm just saying it was very, very difficult to do.
All right, let's get a break in because when we come back, Ryan Fowler's got to join the show. We'll look ahead again to Alabama LSU on Saturday.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Plenty of sunshine this afternoon, though temperature's still going to be well below average. Highs only climbing into the upper 50s and lower 60s. Dropping into the mid and upper 30s as we head into the overnight, early into your Friday morning. Plenty of sunshine on Friday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 60s. Many of us making a solid run at 70 degrees. Going to fall just shy. Dropping into the low 40s through the overnight, early Saturday morning. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday afternoon. We're talking about plenty of sunshine. Temperatures consistently climbing into the upper 60s and lower 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a new wreck on Hamer Road in the 400 block. That's in the Owens Crossroads area near Piney Woods. They had HIMSY on it, but it looks like they've canceled them now. Well, they do have HIMSY units still responding. Had Thatch Road near Sand Spring in Limestone County. Single vehicle, no injury. And they may still be trying to clear 53 in Kelly Spring. That one had some injury. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue can help you keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Cheeseburger Bobby's has a great new way to feed the family with two $30 family packs. The first is the Tenders Family Meal. 20 delicious chicken tenders, fries, and a gallon of tea. The second is 4 cheeseburgers, fries, and a gallon of tea. Your choice, just $30 each. These specials are good for carryout and online orders only. Log on to cheeseburgerbobbies.com to order. And don't forget frozen custard for dessert. Cheeseburger Bobbies, 2785 Carl T. Jones Drive, Huntsville, and at cheeseburgerbobbies.com.
Have you ever turned your back on God? Have you ever absolutely known the right thing to do and just turned around and walked away in disobedience? I know that I have. Aren't we thankful for our great and merciful God who loves us and forgives us and remembers our sin no more? I'm so thankful that His mercies are fresh every day. I need that, and I suspect you do too. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, and if you're looking for a church home, come see us. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, and check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Welcome back, Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We'll have more time if you want to weigh in on Bobby Knight and everything in college basketball. But we want to get back to Alabama football because they'll take on LSU on Saturday right here, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, your home for Alabama football. Tuscaloosa obviously will be the epicenter of college football this weekend. College game day, I believe, is going to be in Tuscaloosa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's right.
So that means a lot of things will be happening down there as well.
Yeah, it will be, no doubt. And we're going to go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, and we appreciate him hanging with us. We did have a kind of a spirited discussion with Bob Knight, who's very polarizing, but a great coach and one of the greats of the game. But we are, speaking of the game, he is host of the game in Tuscaloosa, the longest-running radio program in the City of Champions, and that is Ryan Fowler, and he's going to join us for a few minutes here on the show on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you guys. How are you guys doing today?
We are doing well. I know you've had a busy week with your show, and there's no telling how many radio shows you've done because of this game. Now, this game, Alabama-LSU has defined the SEC since 2007. It's kind of apropos. We've said this week, Ryan, that it's, to me, going to decide the West again, ultimately, because I don't think Ole Miss will beat Georgia, but I think it's all going to come down to this. Last year, a divisional play, and, of course, Alabama-LSU is going to be, I think, the game of the year within the league.
I think it can be. I really do. And, you start thinking about this game, and if this offense has any pride, because all we've talked about is LSU offense, Jaden Daniels. Something tells me this Alabama offense is going to show up. Something. I know it's going up against that defense. You could find a lot of success. But when you think about hearing all of that noise and all that praise for LSU, if this Alabama offense has any type of pride, they'll show up with a different performance Saturday. And if they don't, then I guess they've reached their ceiling. Because if you can't find success against this defense with this injuries that we're hearing coming out of Baton Rouge, then Tommy Rees just may not be able to find more success than what we've seen so far.
So you think this Alabama offense has a 40-point game performance in them against LSU?
No. I'm not in the 40s.
Okay.
But I think they can do some things offensively that, the best way to keep Jaden Daniels is on the sidelines.
Yeah,
right?
that's what we were saying, yeah.
Yeah, long, sustained drives. I think this game will be played in the 30s. And really, if you think about it, I mean, what is Alabama's peak? Like, if you said on a great day, what do you think Alabama could score? I mean, I guess you go back to Tennessee 34, and defense helped them out with those touchdowns.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair number for the offense. Now, you might be able to get a punt return or a kickoff return or special teams or another, defensive touchdown. But I think offensively, I don't see this offense just turning into, dynamite here. I don't. But maybe there's something else out there. But maybe they've been able to fix some things. I don't think it's far, but it far away. But when you look at this offense, there's so many different things. I mean, think about when all of us were sitting in Nashville.
Yeah.
And we were talking about what we thought we knew about Alabama. We thought they would be physical in the trenches. They've not done that consistently. They've done it at times. We thought the offensive line was going to be a strength. It has not been. It's been more of a weakness than it's been a strength. We thought that they would use the tight ends. I mean, heck, I made the statement that I thought that with the production that we were hearing behind the scenes, I thought tight ends might have a chance to lead the team in receptions and receiving yards. And that's not been the case. So, really, when you look at this offense, Tommy Rees needs to have one of these good games. I think Alabama needs to have one of these good games. Because as we get down in crunch time with just a few games left, it's time for Alabama to kind of be impressive. And I know you can save it and say, okay, well, we'll get to Georgia and SEC title game and, we'll beat the number 2 team in the college football playoff rankings. But now's the time to be starting to build that resume. And when you do that against Georgia, if you're able to do it, it's not an outlier. It simply is that you've seen this team grow over the last, 12 games at that point.
All right, and I'll say this too. I think Rees is coming off his best 3 quarters. I thought he did a great job against Tennessee adjusting and getting them going. But that now, what Scott and I were saying in the first segment of the show is they've got to put 4 quarters together, though. And I know you know Pete Jenkins very well. We had Mike Detillier on yesterday. He was talking about that a lot of people hadn't been really talking about Pete and what he'd done with the defense at LSU. And help them improve at the very least. Scott and I were joking that their defensive line was lining up a yard off the ball. And, of course, Mike was talking to Pete about that, and he was raising Cain, saying there's no way they're going to continue to do that. So, and he knows Nick Saban very well. But, again, you just made the point, though. There's all these injuries. Their secondary's decimated. They lost their best defensive lineman. Now, a lot of people are going to try to step up in these situations, but to me, if Alabama can't score in the mid-30s on this team, they're not going to win the game. They should be able to move the ball and score on this LSU defense.
I totally agree. And I think if you're Nick Saban, I know you run your offense, but if there's one area with these backs that you've got the strength of your football team as far as depth-wise that's in that backfield, lean on them. Plus, it keeps your younger guys engaged. It keeps them happy because you never know when you're going to have to go to them, especially at that running back spot. So, to me, I'd lean on these guys. And I'll never forget Coach Stallings, which I know Wes and Steve featured him for years, just like we did here in Tuscaloosa. And I'll never forget, he came on with a question. He stopped me and he goes, "Hey, Ron, I know you've always got questions for me. I've got a question for you." And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "When did a 3-yard gain become a negative play in college football?" And I said, "Well, Coach, it's not." And he goes, "Okay, let me take your questions." But his point that he was making is, I know we've razzle-dazzled football, and we all love that type of the game, but this might be one of those games that you lean. Yeah, you're going to have to be balanced. You can't just line up and run it 75 times. But it would help you a little bit, especially that defense, to keep Jaden Daniels on the sideline. So I think it would be a good strategy to kind of dominate that. And, really, if you think about this offensive line, I mean, Drew, Scott, don't you guys think they're better run blockers than they are pass guys?
Yeah, and
you
to
would
that
think,
point,
but they've struggled in both areas at times with consistency.
Yeah, what do they need? What does Alabama and Tommy Rees need to do with Jalen Milroe this Saturday that we haven't seen up to this point?
Use the tight ends more. We've seen it, but just brief little episodes of it, because I think there's some money to be made for those guys. There's a reason why. Watch NFL on Sunday, and I'm not saying Alabama's at the NFL side of things, but look at how they use the tight end. They're the outlet, and I know NFL is a different game in some sense, but to me, I think the tight ends and leaning on that rushing attack, and just think if you can get that rushing attack cranked up, and then you suck everybody in the box a little bit, and then that deep ball really becomes effective because you don't know when it's coming, and when it comes, it's hard to kind of make some counter adjustments. So when you think about that rushing attack, and you think about opening up those deep balls, to me that's a plan where you can score a few more points. But I don't know a lot about LSU special teams. I have not looked that up. I guess I need to, but just off the automatic, you would think that also favors Alabama. But I think just getting some healthy guys back on the field, because this Alabama team was beat up. We were in the post game availability after Tennessee, and I think every one of them made a note that they were ready for the bye week. And then Nick Saban kind of countered it on that Wednesday. Could have been on Thursday on the coaches show, but he was talking about are you psychologically, physically tired, or are you psychological? Are you mentally tired? And he kind of went through the difference between the two. Either way, mentally, physically, whatever, this team needed to break to kind of reset. And if you notice, he only practiced them Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So they didn't do their typical cleanup. So he gave them a couple of days following Tennessee, and then gave them the entire weekend. And that's good for this team if they're going to try to finish strong and finish with these 3 SEC games and then the non-conference games. So Alabama's got a chance. I like Alabama in this game. I'm more confident from an Alabama perspective here in this game than maybe I was against Texas A&M or even Tennessee. There's just something about this revenge game, and I know Tennessee was a revenge game too, but I think this Alabama team wins Saturday. And I'm not saying they win going away, because I just don't think you're going to be able to do that. But I feel pretty solid that Alabama's, they were favored for a reason.
And I think of the fact that I think it actually works in Alabama's favor. Yes, Scott was making the point, and it's correct. Alabama has not put 4 quarters together, but I think it's almost better that they haven't played their best game and they've still got some growth potential.
Absolutely. No. I mean, listen, Alabama, I mean, if they play 4 quarters like they did against Tennessee, the last 2, then who knows what this team – I came back on that Monday on my show and on other shows, and I said, listen, if Alabama plays like that, there's not a team in the country. Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State – not Penn State, Michigan, whoever, Washington, Alabama plays like that defensively and offensively where they're that aggressive, that team could go and win a national title. And that's something, 4 or 5 weeks ago, if I'd have said that, you'd have put me in the mental hospital. So this team has been able to ride some of these inconsistent waves, but at the end of the day, but if they don't win Saturday, it's, we're all talking about this, we'll get ready for basketball season. But
yeah, I mean, it's going to be an electric atmosphere, no doubt. It's the biggest game of the year. It will define this team. If they win this game, I do think they get to Atlanta. I am going to call that. I think they're going to beat Kentucky, Chattanooga. Auburn has a chance to have a solid run in the last month, but I still think this Alabama team is better in all 3 phases and can win that game on the road. But this one is a huge fork in the road, no question about it. Well, Ryan, we appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We know it's going to be a great show on the game later tonight, or today, I should say, from 2 to 6. But we always appreciate your time back in North Alabama, man.
Hey, no doubt, man. Appreciate you guys. Scott, Drew, you guys have a great morning. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Ryan. Ryan Fowler with us. Let's get a break in when we come back and wrap up Hour 1. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a wreck on 231 at Carringer Road. That one had an injury. 400 block of Hamer near Piney Woods, maybe an injury there. Had Thatch Road at Sand Spring in Limestone County. Nobody hurt in that one. And 53 in Kelly Spring had an injury involved, but it should be about clear. Are you ready to be your best? QFit, sports performance training and fitness can help. It's not a group program. It's intense one-on-one training at QFit Relentless, 256-497-9075. Captain Eck in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Stan McDonald. Stan, tell everybody why you're the best damn dirt lawyer in North Alabama.
Yes, Wes, at Jacob Title and the Stanton Law Firm. You know I'm a dirt lawyer, and a lot of our friends know that, which means we specialize in real estate. Now, if you own real estate or you're buying it or you're selling it, you need to do a closing, but a lot of times there's legal issues associated with that. We're a great group to talk to. My son, Lewis McDonald, heads our commercial closing division, and we approach your real estate needs very seriously. We seek to be the premier real estate closing company in North Alabama, and we do it in such a way it shows that we're experienced, we're for your success. We like to handle your real estate needs the same way Coach Dan Reeves used to say, never let them see you sweat. And that's going to be to your benefit, too, when you visit us at Jacob Title and the Stanton Law Firm. Our website online is jacobtitle.com.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
The best place to get 50s diner-style homemade delectables is Bubby's Diner. Located at 8412 Whitesburg Drive Southeast, try their all-new expanded breakfast menu with homemade waffles, omelets, and shrimp and grits. With 3 generations of experience, Chris Bubby Belcher has the best burgers in town. Don't forget to leave without a homemade pie or a hand-spun milkshake. Give Bubby's a call today at 256-513-8080. Bubby's Diner, home of the donut burger.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. So Jaden Daniels will head to Tuscaloosa on Saturday.
Right.
As the quarterback of the LSU Tigers, trying to do something that no LSU quarterback has done since the 2010-2011 season. And you know the last quarterback since Nick Saban has arrived at Alabama, I got to preface that. The last LSU quarterback to beat Alabama in consecutive years is, remember the LSU quarterback that's done that?
You're talking about consecutive years beating Alabama.
Since Nick Saban has arrived.
Well, I mean, because, when he got there, they lost in 2007, and then they won a couple in a row in 2008 and 2009, lost in 2010, and lost in 2011. So, and the funny thing is like Jordan Jefferson came off the bench in that 2011 game.
Yes, he is.
And then Alabama turned around though and started about an 8-in-a-row streak when they won the national championship game, because then Alabama won in 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 until 19 when they won in Tuscaloosa, because T-Bob Hebert and those guys were just we're absolutely about to have a conniption. Now we're going to talk to Matt Moscona in the second hour about this, and he knows it better than anyone. It was very cathartic for LSU to win that game in 19, and they had a transcendent football team. They have a transcendent offense this year. That defense that year was a work in progress as well, but it looks like the steel curtain compared to this group, and because of the health. So, but I'll just give Brian Kelly credit. It's what I said earlier in the show. I think he understands what they have to do to win the game, and they can't take their foot off the gas.
Right. Jordan Jefferson in those 2 games that he beat Alabama.
Yeah.
1 touchdown, 298 yards from scrimmage in those 2 meetings. So, wasn't like he set the world on fire when he beat Alabama. All right, that's going to just about do it for hour number 1. I'm looking over this. 2 or more Heisman. Here are the 21st century quarterbacks of teams with 2 or more pre-Heisman losses. Carson Palmer was 10-2 in 2002.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow 9-3. Florida in
RG3.
2007. RG3 was 9-3 for Baylor in 2011.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M 10-2. Lamar Jackson 9-3 with Louisville in 2016, and 2022. Caleb Williams' USC team was 11-2.
Caleb Tulane.
Caleb Tulane. Forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Forgot about Caleb Tulane.
Right.
But anyway, Jaden Daniels with 3 losses. I don't know if you look at him, if Bo Nix continues, Michael Penix continues on the trajectory they are. If Jaden Daniels has a good game, but still LSU does not come up on the winning edge, I don't know how you look at him in the Heisman race. I don't know how you would look at him, I should say.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would think of that.
I still think he'll be a finalist if he plays well. If they lose a 1-score game.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Dennis Doofus and some of those guys probably wouldn't want to vote for him, but I still think he should be a finalist. If they win the game, as I've said, I think he's going to be the runaway front runner.
The other game in the SEC, Missouri, Georgia.
We're going to talk about that next.
Talk about that one. Yeah, you're right. Let's do it.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. The best way to start betting smarter is to sign up for a free VSiN subscription at vsin.com/subscribe.
Thursday Night Football tonight, the Pittsburgh Steelers are home to take on the Tennessee Titans. Pittsburgh sitting at 4-3, but their offense is only averaging 16 points per game. They are expected to have quarterback Kenny Pickett available. He left last week's game against Jacksonville with a rib injury. But Tennessee, they'll be going with rookie quarterback Will Levis. He had 4 touchdown passes in their home win in Nashville against the Atlanta Falcons. Pittsburgh, a 2.5-point home favorite tonight, minus 146 on the money line. The Titans plus 124. The over-under 36.5. The Steelers have won the last 4 meetings against Tennessee. For vsin.com, I'm Tony Desiri, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. While 8th-ranked Alabama, 14th-ranked LSU, 6:45 kick has garnered most of our attention this week. There is a lot of slate of SEC games that we do need to kind of zero in on. Kentucky will look to get back to their ways. They will be on the road at Mississippi State this weekend. Of course, we've talked about Auburn and Vanderbilt. That is a 3 o'clock kick, SEC Network. Auburn a 12.5-point favorite. But the other one is the CBS 2:30 game. That is 2nd-ranked Georgia, 12th-ranked Missouri, in Athens. Georgia, a 15.5-point favorite. The over-under's 54.5. And if you haven't awoken to Missouri yet, you need to. This Missouri team is 7-1, 3-1 in conference play. But are they good enough? They've been good this year, but are they good enough to go on the road and do something that nobody has done in, 25 games?
Yeah.
And that is beat Georgia?
In a row. Yeah, I mean, and they almost did a year ago, really probably, along with Ohio State, gave the Dogs the biggest scare on the way to their repeat. We're going to talk some Mizzou football. He gets with PowerMizzou.com, part of the Rivals Network, does a great job on the football beat, and that is Gerard Hamilton, and he's with us this morning on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Gerard, welcome back to Huntsville. You're with Drew and Scott. How are you?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. This team has sort of been under the radar all year. They lost that heartbreaker to LSU where they had a double-digit lead. You can speak to both sides. We were just talking Alabama, LSU. You saw that LSU offense. You could argue that, because Georgia's offense is really good, that the top 3 offenses in the SEC are, LSU, Mizzou, and Georgia. This Mizzou offense has been really, really good.
Yeah, it has been total 180 from season ago, where they was relying heavily on their top 35 defense. Their defense this year is top 40 again, but with this offense, this passing attack, everything it's just working out much better for them. Position players from top to bottom, as far as the groups, have all improved. I mean, yes, they have all improved.
Mm-hmm.
Brady Cook is, as we've seen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Luther Burden is a superstar, is commonly talked about as one of the, top receivers, top players, in the country. Offensive line, way better than it was a year ago. The running game, like Cody Schrader, he's one of the best backs in the league. Who would think, a guy who started about a year and a half ago, he was just, a walk-on. Then he ends up getting a scholarship. Then he ends up starting. He becomes team captain this year. And now he's, second in the SEC in rushing. It's a lot of great stories going on, but the offense definitely has picked up from where it was a year ago, and that's kind of what's leading these guys to this 7-1, record that they're at right now.
Well, obviously, this Missouri team, for some, kind of snuck up on them, the success this year. I mean, Has it surprised you, this start that they're on?
It did. I was a person who I had them at 7-5, so they're already where I'm, where I'm thinking that where I thought they would be at. But I read about this the other day. It's kind of cool in sports when you see a team kind of exceed expectations quickly because you just wonder how far they can go. So, like I said, started at 7-5. Then after a few games, you was thinking, like after the Kansas State game, you start thinking, can they go 8-4 maybe? I mean, that's maybe a bonus win because I was teetering on 7-5, 8-4. That was the game I was thinking like they can maybe win that game. It's a home game, it's a rivalry game. I got to see how the quarterbacks look because remember there was a quarterback battle going into the season. We've long forgot about that, but that was something that was part of this. And then after a couple more games, you think, well, maybe they can go 9-3, and now I feel like up until last week it was like definitely 10-2, maybe New Year's 6, but because it's Georgia week, you start doing some previews and stuff. You start thinking, well, if they win this game, they've got the inside track to win the division, and they're number 12 in the first poll. That's their highest ranking ever. I mean, this is more than a pipe dream or something you say, that's far down the horizon. It's something, you can see.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty amazing to watch the team blossom. We've already talked about how, Elijah Drinkwitz is definitely the runaway choice for Coach of the Year. No disrespect to Kirby and what he's trying to do, but, I mean, most people did not have Mizzou, in the top 15 in the country right now. And, again, it's not talked about, but they control their own destiny in the East, even with Georgia doing what they're doing. If they were to beat Georgia, that would be just massive for Mizzou. And how much conversation has there been about last year and that missed opportunity, Gerard?
When we talked to the players and we talked to Drink on Tuesday, the vibe was kind of like, it feels like a game they think they lost more than Georgia won. Not that they don't give Georgia credit. The Georgia did what they needed to do to win the game. That's what good teams do. You find a way to win. But they feel like that's one that they let slip away. But besides that, it's not too much. They don't harken too much on that game. They feel like the rosters are different. I mean, that was the team clawing to get to 6-6 so you go play in the Gasparilla Bowl. And Georgia, for some things, like still a monster of a team, but there's personnel differences and things like that. So Missouri's a lot more confident as a team going into this game. Georgia definitely has something to prove. I mean, being ranked number 2 in the college football playoff poll, that's great bulletin board material. People challenging Carson Beck and the offense and the whole team as a whole saying, this isn't as good as the other years and they haven't played anybody and all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on with these teams, but there hasn't been too much on Missouri's side worrying about last year's game. They've been really good, I feel like, this year, win or lose, saying we're focused on the next game. So that's what they've really been on this week.
In your mind, who needs to step up this week? Who needs to have a big game for Missouri?
Outside, the obvious ones.
Yeah.
I would say linebacker Tyron Hopper. Coach, defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, Coach Drink, they've said, they feel like he's improved. He's had more responsibilities in year 2 in the scheme, which started Mike linebacker Chad Bailey kind of in and out of the lineup due to a core injury who it sounds like he may miss this game as well. He's also had to play more because of that. He's had a little bit more responsibility because of that, in addition to it being the second year in the scheme, and they're adding a little bit more stuff. But across the board, his numbers have been down a little bit. Now, based on, his stats from a year ago, they're similar box score-wise, but if you look at all his, like his grades, like PFF grades and stuff, and we know those things can be hit or miss sometimes, but they're all down across the board. He's tied 7th for missed tackles in the nation with 16. If he can really just, he knows where to be, but if he can just wrap up some of those guys and be a force in the run game, that'll be something. Also, messing with Georgia's array of pass catchers, going to have to be a little bit better, when he's in coverage. But on any given day, he could be Missouri's best defensive player.
And then Brady Cook, he's probably improved. We talk about Jaden Daniels' improvement being so stark. This is another guy. The fans were calling for Sam Horn at the start of the year. There wasn't even – and I know Coach Drink was saying that he still had to win the job in the fall. What's been the key for his improvement?
I think, part of it is not have a torn labrum in your throwing shoulder.
There you go.
People forget about that, and throughout the year we didn't know he had a torn. We didn't know until obviously their season was over. But once there was a play specific when he got hurt versus Kansas State last year, I remember seeing him, and I feel like us in the media, we kind of put that in our memory, like maybe that's something, but he keeps playing every week, so maybe he's okay. But when it was revealed that he had to get surgery on it, it was just like, well, that makes sense. But besides that, there's things on the field he's done, that he wasn't doing before. I mean, he's going through his progressions a lot better. Last year, it felt like he was first read and he was running, and a lot of that had to do with offensive line not being as great. But you've seen from the first game this year, he's going through his progressions a little bit better. I don't know. Obviously, again, back to the show thing, his touch on the ball, he can actually throw it. People don't think he can throw the ball like that. He can throw it, makes wise decisions. I just think just maturation. He's got a year of starting experience under his belt. Now he's won a couple ranked games this year. I just think, more experience and actually just helped him, get better. And Kirby Moore as well, coming over from Fresno State, being an offensive coordinator / QB coach. I mean, he's done wonders for him as well.
Yeah, and sometimes you can also go through a sophomore slump. I'm talking about Luther Burden last year. I mean, as a freshman, his numbers were okay. Boy, has he taken a big leap in his sophomore season.
Yeah, he's everything they hoped he'd be and more, probably. I mean, what he does after the catch is crazy. I mean, he can make you miss by just, his shiftiness. He can run you over. He can spin out of things.
Yeah.
Moving to the slot has been just the biggest thing for him. When they had Dom Lovett, who of course will be on, who's be starting for Georgia, he was mainly in the slot, and Luther only had like 66 slot snaps last year, and that's in a way a testament to him. He's so talented that he was able to play outside, which is not what he does, and lead the team in receiving touchdown or total touchdowns as a true freshman. But now they put him back in the slot, and I mean, you could just tell everything across the board. He's bigger, stronger, faster. Not only is he good in the slot and in the open field, but he's also been someone, used as a deep threat, and which we knew he could do. But again, we didn't ever thought he was necessarily a blazer. More thought so he was quick than fast. He's got plenty of speed to go with everything else. Just one of the most dynamic players in the country.
And Gerard, in your mind, with this team kind of still flying under the radar, there's just been a lot of talk about Georgia and how impressive they were against Florida last week. Mizzou is, I think they probably like the underdog role, but what do they need to do to have a chance to win this game like they did in the fourth quarter last year?
Right. So I've got a story I just posted this morning about 3 things I think that could kind of swing this game. So the run game, get the run game going versus I think this 12th ranked Georgia defense. They can get the run game going, help open up play action in the pass game. That'll be huge. Also, I think that's important because time of possession. Georgia's 5th in time of possession, and sometimes it doesn't matter too much of teams in time of possession. Like Missouri's 77th, but obviously they're 7-1. They put up 30-plus points per game. But in a game like this versus a balanced offense, you can keep Carson Beck in that offense, on the bench, and then keep kind of wearing Georgia's defense down at the same time. I feel like that'll be a win. I think the offensive line needs to have one of its better games. They've been doing much better with penalties the last couple of games. They're one of the most penalized teams in the nation. They've been really, they've been doing much better the last 2 games. They've got to keep Brady Cook clean. His numbers are crazy when he's kept clean or when he's not, being blitzed and stuff like that. So keep him clean. And the last thing is got to get to a fast start and obviously finish strong. That sounds so simple to say, like, duh, Gerard, but there's something to it. They got to that 22-7 start versus LSU, and then you've seen everything kind of just fall underneath. I think LSU outscored them, what's that, 42-17 after, from midway in the second quarter on. And then you look at the Kentucky game, they looked horrible. They let Kentucky get a quick 14 points, but then after that, they outscored them like 38-7. So they've got to put that second half with the LSU first half together, have a complete game. Or even if they don't have a fast start, they just can't afford to have a slow start. You go down 14 points to Georgia on the road, that may be your day right there. So start fast, finish strong.
Yeah, it's going to be a key, no question about it, to get off to a fast start in
Athens.
Yeah, and
can't keep the Georgia crowd in it.
Yeah, I mean, in those 13 and 14 years where Pinkel went to the championship game, they did beat Georgia, and I believe it was in Gerard. I believe it was in 14 they beat the Dogs, and I think it was in Athens if I'm correct, or maybe that was 13. Was it 13? I know 13, it was 13. Okay, 13. I remember that they did beat Georgia, and that was kind of but it was earlier in the season. It was a jump start to winning the division.
Yeah, I think it was maybe week 5 or 6 at that point, and this stuff is a little bit more determined. I also wrote the other day that, like, this is to the point in the season where Georgia has woken up. They've got their scare game or two out the way where people say, well, is Georgia all right? I mean, they had a scare versus such and such, and then they start mowing down opponents. In their last 3 games, they're outscoring opponents like 131-53. So they're definitely ready, and I think on top of being snubbed for the number 1 spot in the CFP poll, that 26-22 or win versus Missouri last year, where even Kirby Smart says they basically got their butt kicked in a way. I think that's going to be extra motivation on top of everything else they got going on. So Dogs definitely have a lot to play for.
No question. Well, great stuff, Gerard. We always appreciate it. You do a great job for Power Mizzou. Let everybody know how to follow your coverage, and safe travels to Athens.
Appreciate it. You guys can follow me on Twitter or X at Gerard C. Hamilton. That's JarodCHamilton. Follow the work at PowerMizzou.com. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gerard. Good stuff there on the Missouri Tigers. And, I mean, they've got an uphill battle, no doubt about it. Athens is not an easy place, and he's right. Georgia's kind of hit that stride a little bit. Lad McConkey is healthy. Yeah. But Missouri's got a chance. No one really thought they'd be where they're at this point anyway.
Well,
so
the
they're
funny
playing
thing
with
is,
house money, I think.
Like Dominic Lovett, he had a great year at Mizzou last year, but he hasn't had that kind of year at Georgia so far.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting to see the kind of game he has against his former mates.
All right, let's get a break in. 256-576-4977. Talking Ball returns.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got an injury accident working eastbound on University west of Sparkman. 231 in Carringer had a minor injury involved. It should be clearing quickly, and the 400 block of Hamer near Piney Woods also should be out of the way quick. The end of the year's coming. If you need temp admin or accounting help for special projects, Snelling can help. Snelling, how the area's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
The Huntsville Sports Commission is driven by you, driven by those with grit, determination, and a goal to succeed. This is why we do what we do. The Huntsville Sports Commission promotes an enhanced quality of life in the Huntsville area through sports. We work hard to make sure those who come to Huntsville to compete have all they need to be the best they can be. The Huntsville Sports Commission. We do sports. Find out more at huntsvillesports.org.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our sports med specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
You'll love the expanded wine selection at Liquor Express. From special occasion to everyday table wines, they've got what you need. Meet your friends at the largest tap wall in Alabama with 105 rotating selections. Then take home a growler full of your favorite or choose from our 1,000 canned or bottled beers. Need help stocking your bar or planning your party? Liquor Express has a knowledgeable, professional, in-house staff that can assist you with anything from your bar to the planning of your special event. Visit liquorexpress.net for tasting specials, giveaways, and classes.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured, lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands on a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over until your body breaks down. But when it happens, there's only one law firm to call in Alabama. That's Pond, Lehocky, Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
The representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
President's Award winner 2 years in a row. That's only given to the top 10% of Ford dealers in customer satisfaction. So we're very proud of the service department. And our body shop. If you happen to get into an accident, which not a lot of people just want to go down and see a body shop, but if you get into an accident, award-winning body shop. We have state-of-the-art paint booths back there. They're waterborne paints that we use, friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on. All done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop too. Don't forget our parts department. So if you don't have to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Football season and Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. The perfect combination of good times and great food. This season, score big with one of our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer from our huge selection. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway in Huntsville and our new location at Cliff Farm, Highway 72 in Madison.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you, hanging out on a Thursday morning. A Thursday morning now that sees it at 32 degrees. Yay, we've made it to 32 degrees. I bring that up because tonight you're going to want to grab some cider. You're going to want to grab some hot chocolate. You're going to want to grab 10 blankets.
So, Bandy, you won't be there, I would imagine.
So there's a pair of high school football games coming your way tonight. So, as we mentioned yesterday, several teams are wanting to get the regular season over with tonight because they want to take some of that time. And this is the plan going into the beginning of the season. They don't move sometimes they move them at the last minute. But the plan is, if you beginning of the year, you want to make the playoffs. So you schedule your last game on a Thursday in hopes of going to scout legally, by the way, not Michigan way, but scout.
Not put sunglasses on at night and hide people in gear and stuff like that.
And try to do a lot of kind of shady stuff. No. You go and you try to scout your playoff opponent. Now tonight, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, we're going to flex our muscles once again. You got Buckhorn and Grissom.
Dual broadcast here.
Yeah, you got Buckhorn and Grissom, and then we will have Hazel Green and Huntsville for you. So make sure you have the app downloaded, those two games. But also going on, New Hope is going to be at home taking on Plainview tonight from your region, Class 4A Region 8.
Yeah.
Sylvania is going to play host to Fife in what should be a fantastic regular season finale. Woo!
Right.
That's a 3A, 2A ranked matchup.
And that's a return to his first job for Paul Benefield. I know you had coach on last week he did win his 300th game at Fife, okay?
He did his 300th game in Fife.
As humble as he is, he did not know he wasn't sure. I heard that.
I was like, Coach, it's your 300th
but he did.
Well, let me think about that for a minute.
He did. I think he's 345.
Right.
In his time at Fife. But don't forget.
Think about that. He's won 300 and has lost 45
at Fife.
games at Fife.
At Fife. But think about this too, and he was at Sylvania before then and had a good run.
Yeah,
so
that is true. Valley Head is going to play host to Collinsville.
Yeah.
You also have an interesting matchup. Hatton is going to welcome Geraldine tonight. That is a fantastic
under the radar game there.
That is.
Geraldine's pretty good.
Yep.
And
so
Hatton's not bad either.
That's the high school football for tonight. So get out your Woolly Burgers. Get out a lot of warm stuff. And Jimmy Lay's already texted me this morning and said that he's going to be at the Huntsville Hazel Green game tonight.
Right.
And so
both those teams be wrapping up.
Yeah. And so he's like he's preparing. He goes, I'll brave the cold with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to brave the cold tonight.
Yeah. Are you going to have some earmuffs on, Scott? Well, you got to be able to hear though.
I will have something protecting the ears, and I will have something protecting the hands,
oh
and the rest
boy,
of the body and stuff. Yeah.
Have you some warm cider in a Yeti or something?
Oh, that's a good call. I could bring the old hot chocolate.
Yeah, there you go. That's what these Yetis are for, man.
Put it to the test.
Yeah.
High school volleyball. Do want to go there because we want to make
some heartbreak for Arab though.
Yeah.
Second straight year.
They fall in the 6A title game.
Or was it 5A? I think that was 5A, correct?
5A, I bet.
Yeah,
they fall to
because
Montgomery
Sarah
Academy,
Land lost to Mountain Brook in the 6A.
Right. Mountain Brook claims the 7th volleyball title. They get the 6A title.
Yeah.
Mountain Brook did over Sarah Land. Of course, Mountain Brook stopped a Bayside Academy's run.
21 in a row, yeah.
Yep. So Montgomery. But the good news is Plainview downs Mobile
First ever.
Christian.
I think it's their first ever state championship.
First ever. You're right. 3-0. They get the win. Now today, Bob Jones will play for the 7A state title. Bob Jones, of course, one of our Bryant Bank Team of the Week winners earlier this year. So congratulations, Bob Jones. They are into the 7A finals. So they will play later today for a chance to win the 7A crown. They're going to have their hands full.
Is it McGill?
It is McGill Tulane. Yeah,
the dirty
dozen. They will take them on. That one will get underway at noon today. Right. So high noon. How about that? High noon showdown for a 7A title.
Wow, we just need some Western music. Not the Monster Mash.
I can't even. I was going to try to. You got it? What do you have for this?
Yeah. But no, it's a great opportunity for Bob Jones. They've had one heck of a year. Uh-oh. Here we go.
To the town of our free rode a stranger one fine day.
I don't think that works.
I think we should have gone with Wyatt Earp or something. This sounds like Poncho and Cisco.
That's not it, Bailey. That's not it. That's not it.
That just doesn't set the mood.
No, it does not set the mood.
I'm Your Huckleberry would be better.
That's not. Bailey, that's.
Okay. That's better. That's better.
So there we go. Coming up today at noon from Bill Harris Arena, we've got the 7A championship. Bob Jones and McGill Tulane.
Yeah, I'm Your Huckleberry.
High noon. There you go. That is what we were looking for.
There you go, Bandy.
We got to get a break in because when we come back, Matt Moscona Going to join us from Baton Rouge.
Yeah, 104.5 ESPN, all over the state of
Yeah.
Louisiana. Best show in the state after further review, 3 to 6 each Monday through Friday.
Let's get a break in.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Plenty of sunshine this afternoon, though temperature's still going to be well below average. Highs only climbing into the upper 50s and lower 60s. Dropping into the mid and upper 30s as we head into the overnight, early into your Friday morning. Plenty of sunshine on Friday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 60s. Many of us making a solid run at 70 degrees. Going to fall just shy. Dropping into the low 40s through the overnight, early Saturday morning. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday afternoon. We're talking about plenty of sunshine. Temperatures consistently climbing into the upper 60s and lower 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a new wreck in Gurley, Highway 72 and 3rd Street. That one's coming in with injuries. Working an injury type on University eastbound west of Sparkman. Had 231 in Carringer. May have had a minor injury involved. Still may be trying to clear it. And HPD's doing traffic control on University around Mid-City. Maybe a slow go for you there. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
If you work in a dangerous or logistically intense industry, you know good training can be a challenge. There are training costs, safety concerns, and difficulty replicating real-world scenarios. There's a better way used right now in the Army and in all our armed services to better prepare our heroes, and it's available to you in your organizations. Higher Echelon's Game Development Team is revolutionizing learning in military training, dangerous industry, STEM, and sports performance domains with cutting-edge virtual training that immerses you in lifelike scenarios without the cost and safety concerns for trainees. With Higher Echelon's game-based training, you'll experience realistic simulations, precision accuracy, and unparalleled safety. Higher Echelon founder Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached for the cadets and puts that experience to use. His team has been building cutting-edge virtual training environments for soldiers and clients for a decade. Higher Echelon, the name you can trust for advanced training solutions. Reach out at higherechelon.com to get your free consultation. Go higher and go Army.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
This is Eli Gold, your home of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and ESPN Radio is 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
There you go. Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Happy Thursday morning, everyone. 8:33 on a Thursday. And once again, coming up on Saturday, Bryant-Denny Stadium, the place to be. Alabama, LSU. We've talked a lot about it. 6:45 kickoff. Alabama, 3-point favorite. 60.5 is your over-under. We've analyzed this game, I think, about every which way we can. But you never know. We may be leaving some things out. And so we need to go to Baton Rouge to find out.
Yeah, and he's one of our favorite guys. He hosts After Further Review from 3 to 6 every Monday through Friday. Has an outstanding Facebook daily show as well, The Morning Scone. Also does a great job, with his Whiskey and Wine post-game show with T-Bob Hebert. And it's our good friend Matt Moscona. He's been good enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Matt, welcome back to the Huntsville. How are you?
Hey, guys, doing great. Thanks for the invite, as always.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope Drew had a good Halloween, man.
He was a Ninja Turtle.
Oh, there you go.
He went as Raphael. I didn't like that. Raphael's the rude one. Everybody knows everybody's favorite is Michelangelo.
That's
Mommy's
right.
Got to do better next year. I agree. Speaking of which, I'm running carpool right now.
I got
There
you.
we go.
No
As
problem.
always.
As always, we usually
Yeah.
get you when you dropping Drew off, man.
Y'all always catch me at 8:30 when I'm running carpool.
Absolutely. Just giving Drew a shout out. What's up, Drew? Glad you had a great Halloween. Hey, I got to give you credit, though, Matt. You pretty much hit this season on the head in Nashville when you told us this team was going to be defined by its offense. I think the defense has struggled even more than people thought it would, and then now the injuries don't help. But we've been talking about during the show today, the one thing I'll give Brian Kelly credit for, too, is he's adjusted his coaching style. He knows the way they have to play, and I think he understands to win this game on Saturday night, it's going to have to be all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, I think it's been an evolution, kind of like last year. Just the difference is your defense had a pulse last year, and early in the year, Jaden was kind of Superman on offense because he had to be. You're much more balanced on offense,
Oh, yeah.
guys. When we were in Nashville, look, I picked LSU to win the SEC, and my thought then, when we talked was, look, I think this is the worst quarterback year in the league since 2014, and LSU is the only team, aside really from Arkansas with KJ Jefferson, that I thought had a real proven guy under center, and so I liked LSU in that spot. I just didn't foresee the defense being this bad. Man, I don't think anybody could have foreseen it being this bad. But Jaden's been great, and you're right about the way that LSU's winning. But a part of that in that middle stretch of the season with the Arkansas, Ole Miss, Missouri games, it was out of necessity, man, because your defense just couldn't get stops. Now so the offense had to be perfect. Now, they were better the last two games against Auburn and Army, but I think we all understand that Auburn and Army are two of the worst offenses in college football. So
Right.
How much of that was legit? How much of that is fool's gold? We'll find out Saturday.
Has this defense, I mean, in your eyes, and like you said, it's all Auburn, Army, etc., but has this defense taken a step forward in your eyes?
Well, there's two things that are materially different from that awful stretch in the middle where they've improved. One is that they've gone to a four-man front, a true four-down defensive line front. And guys, this secondary, they're not good. I know it's so weird to say about LSU because they've always had great talent in the secondary, but it's not there. I literally, guys, don't know that there's a draftable player in LSU's secondary. I'm not talking about like a first rounder. I mean,
wow.
Drafted anywhere.
For years, that was the mainstay.
Yeah, DBU, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons why it's eroded, and they're building it back. And maybe some of the freshmen might get there, but they're not there now. But the best part of this defense is its defensive line. They're talented and deep there, and going to a four-man front has sort of accentuated those guys and allowed them to make plays. The other is they found a home for Harold Perkins. At the beginning of the season, he wanted to be an off-ball backer, guys. Like we talked about this all offseason. They spent all spring and all summer and fall camp working with him as an inside linebacker. And we saw against Florida State, that's not Harold Perkins. So the beginning of the season was really like every week it was trying to find where he fit in that week's game plan. But, they've since made this change. He's playing this nickel Sam role, and what that's done is it's allowed things to slow down for him a little bit because he knows where he's going to be in every game plan, and it's allowed him to play fast, and it's made him better. So those two things have made LSU materially better. How much better, I don't know. Like I said, I guess we'll find out on Saturday.
What do you think the impact? You said a four-man front. What is Pete Jenkins returning to the staff at impact-wise in your mind?
Coach Pete is
a legend.
He's awesome, man. I mean, he's literally regarded as the greatest defensive line coach ever. I mean,
yes.
For your audience there, guys, when Nick Saban got the LSU job in 2000, one of his first hires was bringing Pete Jenkins as his defensive line coach. Now, Pete retired for the first time after a few years under Nick at LSU because, as he told me, he said he didn't want to die on the job. He said he was eating, under Nick, he's eating every meal of his life out of a styrofoam box. But listen, there's a reason even to this day. I talked to Coach Pete around May, and Nick. Bama, Georgia, Kentucky,
yes.
LSU, Oregon.
Everyone.
Like, they still bring him there in the springtime to consult with their coaches and their players. Like, so yes, I mean it's absolutely helped. And guys, the other thing to keep in mind too is LSU since spring has had 5 different defensive line coaches.
Yeah, crazy.
Like, it's wild. They had Jamar Cain, who in the middle of spring got hired by the Denver Broncos. Gerald Chapman was the interim defensive line coach for the rest of spring. Then they hired Jimmy Lindsey, who the day before fall camp had a medical episode, and he's been not with the team all year. And then they moved John Jancic into defensive line coach, and now Pete Jenkins. This is the 5th different one since spring, guys. It's hard to develop consistency when you don't have a consistent voice and different terminology and expectations. So it's a as wild a situation at one position as I can remember, having 5 different coaches in a 6-month span.
Well, and you saw the 19 team, which is one of the greatest college football teams ever. We saw Joe make that huge jump from a really good junior year to the best player in the college game, one of the best we've ever seen as a senior. But I've seen so much stark improvement as well in Jaden Daniels. I think he's the front runner for the Heisman. Some don't. I do right now. Compare this offense of LSU. I don't think this offense has many weaknesses. I don't think it's quite as explosive as that one, but kind of compare the two in the challenge Alabama's facing Saturday.
Yeah, a lot of Alabama fans don't like when I say this, Drew, but LSU's going to move the ball and they're going to score. LSU's going to put up 30. They're going to put up at least 30 points in this game.
They're going to score.
I know I'm going to get eye rolls, and I know people are going to say Bama's defense is top 10. It's just LSU offensively. I mean, for context, if Joe Burrow and that 2019 team never existed, this would be by a mile the best offense in LSU football history. So for context, guys, before Burrow, like, it's funny, that's just how we identify. It's almost like
before
it's
Burrow,
like, it's like BC. It's like we identify time based on Jesus. Like, we identify LSU based on Burrow. It's like before Burrow, there were 3 quarterbacks ever that had thrown for 3,000 yards in a season. It was Jamarcus the year he went number 1, Rohan the year that he threw for 500 against Bama that year,
right.
2001, and then Zach Mettenberger in 2013. That was it. That was the list for 3,000 yards. Jaden's on pace to throw for over 4,000 yards this year.
Wow.
I mean,
yes, he is.
Joe Burrow threw for 5,560 touchdowns. It was just, I mean, you say it out loud, it sounds made up.
Ridiculous,
but,
yeah.
So, look, man, this LSU offense, guys, Jaden's playing at an elite level. You have at least 2 legit NFL receivers with Neighbors and Thomas. You've got a phenomenal offensive line with 2 NFL bookend tackles. Logan Diggs is a Sunday running back. We saw Mason Taylor in this game last year have a big game. Like, there is no weakness on the offense. They're good, they're deep, they're talented, they're going to move the ball, they're going to score. Guys, the game, it really is, like, can LSU get stops? And, like, don't get me wrong, like, LSU's not holding Bama in the teens. I don't think they're holding Bama in the 20. Like, I think LSU's best chance of winning this game is a mid-upper 30s game, kind of like we saw them have to win against Arkansas and Missouri. Like, that's their best shot of winning this game.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think if it gets into the 40s, it's definitely for LSU
Yeah.
because Alabama has not been able to score like that. And I know LSU defensively has struggled, Matt, but you've watched Alabama. Alabama has not been that dynamic offensively.
Well, the thing that I do respect about what Tommy Rees has done is they've identified what Jalen Milroe does well. And I think the big misconception, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but the big misconception is that Milroe is just a tuck and run guy. And
he's not, yeah.
It's pretty clear in the last month he's existing in the pocket, and they're relying on McClellan and Williams in a more traditional running game, and they're looking for the big shot on play action. And Milroe throws a beautiful deep ball. So I don't know that Jalen's going to be able to dink and dunk Bama down the field in 12, 15 plays. But
no.
Like if they get the short field and they run play action, can they hit the 47-yarder to Bond? Yeah, they can, because LSU's not very good in the back end.
Yeah, they're not there. As you said, we don't even know. I've been trying to study it. I'm not even sure who's going to play back there with all the suspensions and then just the injuries and Booker and and we praying for him, but all that kind of Brooks, excuse me. That with the cancer diagnosis, there's just been so many things going on with that defensive backfield.
Yeah, they're going to play. I mean, I can tell you who you're likely going to see. I mean, Sage Ryan, who was
right.
Was a 5-star when he signed here, but guys, he's mostly been a nickelback his whole time here.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing boundary corner. LaTerrence Welch is a young guy that they like, but there's a reason he wasn't playing. And then after that, it's a couple of freshmen. It's Ashton Stamps and Jeremiah Hughes, who are two true freshmen, who are going to be called on to play a lot this weekend. So, I mean, it's an unenviable task, but, I mean, guys, the way I've kind of described it is, look, Zy Alexander, who suffered the injury against Army and is out, he was LSU's best corner by far. It's not even a question. He was LSU's best guy, and he's out. But the drop-off from Zy Alexander to the guys that are going to play, it's not exactly like if you went from Derek Stingley to freshman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not that big a gap. So
right.
I'm not trying to diminish it because it's a loss. He was your best guy.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't good anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's going to change, guys. I don't think LSU is going to go find some defensive magic on Saturday night. It's like if they're going to win a game, it's going to be a game that they played already a handful of times this year, where the offense has to be pretty much perfect, and you hope you get into a 4-quarter game where your offense has the ball and a chance to go make a play to win the game. I think that's the best path for LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And then this game gives Jaden Daniels, we talk a lot about what he's done, but this just gives him that national spotlight.
Yeah, they win this game.
Heisman
to me,
race.
he's the clear front runner.
I would agree. But the people keep asking about the Heisman, and really the best comp is RG3. The year
yes.
he won it, he was on a 9-3 football team. Their defense was atrocious, and he threw for 4,200 yards and accounted for 40-plus touchdowns because he had to. And there wasn't a very clear, obvious choice from like a national title contender. So, look, it's very easy to see, guys. I mean, if LSU wins out and Jaden continues at this pace, he's going to win the Heisman. I just don't know that LSU is going to win out because that when the defense is that bad, guys, you have to be flawless on offense, and it's just so hard to do in this league, especially on the road. You saw it against Ole Miss. I mean, they go put up 600 yards and 45 points, and they lose the game. I mean,
in regulation.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough ask.
And now one final question: is Mekhi Wingo is he a bigger loss than Alexander?
If Mekhi Wingo had been healthy, I would say yes.
But he's been banged up all year, right?
But he's been playing injured all year, man.
Yeah.
And honestly, Brian Kelly even told us this week their highest graded defensive tackle all year has been Jordan Jefferson. He's a West Virginia transfer.
That's right.
And you'll see him. He's number 99, and he's a big, strong kid in the interior. Benches 500, squats 600. So I think they're fine there. It's disappointing for Mekhi, but I think they're okay there. The real issue is if you don't get to Milroe, can your guys cover on the back end?
Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate it, man. You always do a great job and helping us with the LSU intel. Great show later today after further review from 3 to 6. Enjoy the game, my friend, and we look forward to catching up soon.
Okay, guys. See ya.
Thanks, Matt Moscona with us. Let's get that final break in. Tomorrow's headlines when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a wreck on 72 now. This one's westbound near Moore's Mill. No injury reported. 72 and 3rd Street in Gurley did report with an injury. Eastbound on University west of Sparkman still trying to clear. That one had an injury involved. And HPD's reported doing traffic control on University around Mid-City. There may be a slowdown for you there. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists on Bob Wallace Avenue have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Do you have discomfort in your legs? Varicose veins can affect not only how your legs look, but how they feel. Symptoms of varicose veins include pain, swelling, aching, heaviness, and fatigue. Dr. Tracy Lowry of Best Vein Care of Huntsville can diagnose and treat your varicose veins with the latest minimally invasive techniques. Diagnosis and treatment is covered by most insurances. Call 256-715-7151 to schedule your free screening. Go to bestveincarehuntsville.com.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Philip Love of not only Eagle Insulation, now he represents Eagle Companies. Eagle through the years have added several companies to help individuals or builders through their construction renovation process. Eagle is known to represent quality, efficiency, and professionalism. Philip, I know you do insulation, but do you do masonry?
We do.
Do you do grading, erosion control, and dirt hauled off?
We do.
Do you do after paint, which includes shower doors, mirrors, shelving blinds, and bath hardware?
Yes, we do, Wes.
Do you do landscaping and irrigation?
Yes, we do.
So basically, Eagle can help you all along your process of building your house or doing renovations. So do you do plumbing?
We do not, Wes, but we can find somebody to do it.
Just give them time. They'll be there. Anyway, call Eagle Insulation at
256-755-1556.
Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Call Eagle today.
Thanks, Wes.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at North Alabama Mortgage. Did you know that average home equity is at an all-time high? But so is average consumer debt. Even though rates are higher now, you can use your equity to pay off your high consumer debt, student loans, etc., then refi when the rates drop. Don't put off that new home purchase. When rates drop, prices will go up. Buy now and get the best price and then refi when the rates drop. This is the time to talk to the experts at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com for more information.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
In what will probably go down as one of the least watched World Series of all time.
I watched none, except for like a little post-game celebration.
I think Game 1 actually was the lowest rated World
Ever?
Series. Yeah, we've seen.
Czar was talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that probably didn't even know it was going on. But anyway, the Texas Rangers did beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 5-0. They win the first World Series in franchise history. And, I mean, as soon as the Rangers were celebrating there on the field, Vegas comes out and says, guess what, folks? Start putting your money down on the 2024 season. Because here are your World Series favorites.
How can you say that when free agency hasn't even happened?
The Atlanta Braves have been tapped by Vegas to be the 2024 World Series champions.
I knew that's what was coming. I knew that was coming. But I got to give Bruce Bochy credit. He's a true Hall of Famer.
I mean, geez, look what he did when
they
he
lost
was with
90
the
friggin'
Giants.
games last year.
I know, but look what he did when he was with the Giants.
No, and then he got the Padres to the World Series in '98.
Yeah. And now he wins. I think it's his
fourth
World Series.
Only 6 managers have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already going to be in the Hall of Fame anyway, and it just cements it. I mean, the Rangers had never won a World Series.
Well, if you're the Atlanta Braves, you want Will Smith back.
Yeah.
Because Will Smith now has 3 straight World Series rings.
Unbelievable. And he pitched really well for the Braves to win that World Series. And then the next year he pitched like it, he got his head up his, he got released basically or traded.
He got one with Houston.
Traded. Yeah.
Got one with Houston, and now he's got one with
Texas. Unbelievable.
So if you're Braves, you want Will Smith back.
He's got 3 rings, man. 3 straight. That's hard to do.
But I don't think a damn person cares about Major League Baseball. It's you move the season, you move the World Series to this late in the year, and I mean it is what it is, I guess.
Well, everybody, download our app, tune in tonight, bundle up if you're going to be in the stadium. Look for Scott and his Yeti.
I could bring some warm chicken broth.
Oh, okay.
They usually have that on the sidelines, on those NFL games, college games. They've got the warm chicken broth.
Yeah, it's going to be
I could bring that
Huntsville
in.
and Hazel Green, and that one will be at Milton Frank Stadium.
Hey,
correct?
we're the Hazel Green Radio Network.
Green, the Charlie Wilburn Radio Network. And then the Czar will be on the call with John McGough as the Buckhorn Bucks are taking on the Grissom Tigers.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. There you go.
One of those teams is playoff bound.
Yeah, and that'll be the Buckhorn Bucks. They're going to be headed to Mountain Brook in a week from Friday.
All right. That's going to do it. See, I better get one because I got beach volleyball for 3 days.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'm going to get used to the outdoors. All right. Got to get a 24-hour break in. When we come back tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, we'll get you ready for another slate of high school football.
Chilly beach volleyball, though. Lord.
It's going to be real chilly.
Yeah.
At least I get to wear clothes.